Hi everyone, it's Jennifer. Welcome back to Fiberflux Knitting. Today we're going to be learning how to knit this gorgeous First Frost knit scarf. This one is super easy to stitch up and it's just a one skein project. We're going to be using one skein of this yarn and I'm going to show you how to do it every step of the way. So like I said, this scarf just uses one skein of yarn. All the color changes are done for you. I chose this one for my First Frost scarf because it has simple little color changes of blush pink, gray, and it's just such a beautiful color, and I thought it would be a really fun scarf choice. Now we're going to go through the full project here on the channel today, but you can also get the full written pattern over at the Fiberflux blog, and you can get the ad-free pattern PDFs both in my Etsy shop and my Ravelry shops as well. Now before we get started, be sure and hit that subscribe button to get all the latest Fiberflux knitting video updates. I share full project tutorials like this one, stitch tutorials, knitting techniques, and so much more. This is such a fun channel if you want to explore knitting, check it out, brush up on your skills, or just check out some beautiful patterns like this scarf. So if you haven't hit the subscribe button, be sure and click it and get all the latest Fiberflux knitting updates. Now let's jump in, grab our skein of yarn, and make this gorgeous scarf. Okay, let's take a closer look at this stunning scarf. Now, I used one ball of yarn. We're going to talk about the supplies in just a minute, but all this beautiful gradient work has been done for me. And again, I'll tell you about the yarn in just a second. We're going to be alternating some knit rows with some eyelet rows, doing just some simple yarn over knit two togethers, and that creates this lovely texture that we have here. It's just so soft and delicate. The yarn's kind of fluffy too. It kind of complements the yarn nicely. We're going to start from the bottom, work our way up, go all the way through. I'm going to show you every step and stitch of the way. Okay, for sizing, our scarf is about 8 inches wide and 76 inches long. However, you can customize this a little bit by the number of stitches that you cast on and also how many repeats of the pattern that you work. We're going to talk about that a little bit more too as we move along. So let's move on to supplies next. For this project, you'll need a pair of scissors, a tapestry needle. A tape measure is super helpful, especially if you want to change up the size of your scarf a little bit. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in the video to change the width and the length of your scarf. We're going to be using a pair of US 11 8mm straight knitting needles. Now these are bamboo. They give you a little bit more grip. You could also go for, this is a US 11 pair of metal knitting needles. They're a little bit more slick. It really depends on what you like to use. And then for our yarn, I'm going to be using one ball of Lion Brand's Scarfy yarn. And as a side note, this is the pink silver colorway, number 225. I'm going to be using one ball of that. It's shades of like a blush pink and soft gray colors, and it kind of has like an ombre look to it. If you need to substitute yarn, look for 312 yards of a number 5 bulky weight yarn. Now this one actually recommends a US 9 knitting needle, but I'm going up a few sizes in the knitting needle to the US 11 just to give it a little bit more drape and kind of open those stitches up a little bit, okay? But if you look for a number 5 bulky and 312 yards of that, you'll be just fine. So let's get started. Okay, so to begin, I grabbed my yarn and my needles. We're going to use the long tail cast on to cast on our stitches onto the needle. So what you're going to do for the long tail cast on is do like an arm span. I like to call it a wing span. So you take your yarn in one hand, bring it across your body into your other hand, and it gives you about the length that you need, give or take. Okay, we're going to cast on 24 stitches. Now, if you want to change the width of your scarf, just know that it's any even number that you can cast on for this. So if you want to make your scarf wider, you can cast on more stitches. If you want to make it narrower, you can cast on less stitches, okay? So let's come in a little closer so you can see what we're doing up close here. What we're going to do is we're going to put a slip knot on our needle. So wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop, bring the yarn behind the loop, reach in with your needle into that loop you just made, bring up that center loop, and then just tighten it and kind of open it up to snug it up against your needle. For the long tail cast on, I have a full separate video for this. You can check it out up here where I go through it very slow. We're going to kind of zip through it, but we are going to cast on 24 stitches. So I have my tail kind of coming towards me, and then the working yarn that's attached to the yarn ball is kind of going out the front here, okay? So we're just going to cast on our stitches. So this one that we did counts as our first stitch. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and you can push those back if needed, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, pushing them back, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24, okay? So here are our stitches that we just cast on. Again, if you need a little help or refresher for the long tail cast on, check out my other video for that. Okay, so we're just going to kind of put the tail out of the way. We're not going to worry about that right now. And then we're going to start with row 1. For row 1, all we're going to do, this is a very easy pattern. For row 1, all we're going to do is knit all the stitches, okay? So every stitch on this row, we're just going to knit our stitches, okay? So just start knitting all the stitches. I'm going to go through and do this, and then when we get towards the end of the row, we can rejoin and move on to row 2, okay? So again, we're just knitting all the stitches across. Okay, coming up to the end of row 1, again, we're just knitting all those stitches. I also have a separate tutorial. I meant to mention this before. I have a separate video for the knit stitch. Check that out too if you need a little bit of help with that as well, okay? So for row 2, we're just gonna put our needle in the other hand, and row 2, we're also gonna knit all the stitches, okay? So just go through here and knit all the stitches across for row 2 as well, okay? Very easy project. Row 3 will be our little eyelet row, and I'll show you how to do that. But for row 2, we're just going to knit all the stitches on here as well. Coming up to the end of row 2, just knitting all those stitches across, okay? I like to give this tail a little tug just to kind of get it into place. We have a little bit of a beginning here. Let's move on to row 3. Row 3 is, like I said before, our eyelet row. We're going to put some decorative holes in our work now. Okay, so for row 3, what we want to do is we want to knit the first 2 stitches. So knit the first stitch, knit the second stitch, then we're going to work some eyelets, okay? So for that, what we're going to do is we're going to work a yarn over, then a knit 2 together all the way across until just 2 stitches remain. Go ahead and do that. So for yarn over, we're going to wrap the yarn around the right needle only, and then we're going to do a knit 2 together. Insert the needle into 2 stitches at once instead of 1, and then just knit it as normal, okay? And that's it. So yarn over, knit 2 together, 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 and we're just doing this all the way across until just 2 stitches are left, okay? And this is going to put some beautiful decorative holes into our work, okay? So yarn over, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 2 together, and now we have 2 stitches left, and then we're just going to knit those last 2 stitches. This will put a nice little frame on the edges of our work. So just knit those last 2 stitches. And then to finish our scarf, all we're going to do is repeat rows 1 through 3 over and over and over again until our scarf is as long as we want it to be, or until we run out of yarn, whatever comes first. I'm going to kind of go through this whole ball of yarn here. But really important side note, we want to end on row 2, and that's because we started on rows 1 and 2, and that will again add a similar looking edge to the end of our scarf as well, okay? So just to recap, repeat rows 1 through 3 over and over and over again until you make it as long as you want or you run out of yarn, ending on row 2. Okay, I continued working our rows and everything looks beautiful. Look how these colors just play out so nice. It's just such a soft transition of colors. And I just wanted to add, when you're finishing up your scarf, you want to make sure you end on row 2. You don't want to end on the eyelet row because it won't look as nice when you bind off. You want to have a little bit of an edge on there, okay? So the last thing we're going to do is bind off all of our stitches. Now we're going to just do the basic bind off. I'm going to kind of go through it briefly, but if you want to see a more in-depth tutorial on the basic bind off, check out my tutorial up above and it will walk you through a little bit slower, but it's very easy to do. So basically what we're going to do for our basic bind off is to knit 1 stitch, knit a 2nd stitch, and then you're going to take your left needle, and let me just come in a little closer so you can see this part. We're going to take our left needle and we're going to reach in to that first stitch that we knitted and go in with our needle and lift it up, over, and off of that other stitch, just like that. Okay? And you're just going to do this all the way across until there's just 1 stitch left on your needle. So let's do a couple together. Knit the next stitch, take your other needle, lift it up, over, and off, knit the next stitch, lift it up, over, and off, knit the next stitch, lift it up, over, and off, okay? And you can see already we have a nice little edge here. And because we ended on row 2 instead of the eyelet row, row 3, it does give it a nice little finished edge, okay? So keep going until you have just 1 stitch left on your needle. And then when we return, we'll do some finish work and our beautiful scarf will be done. Okay, just lifting that last loop again, up, over, and off. And then just 1 loop remains. And then you're going to just gently kind of loosen up this loop. And I like to kind of pinch it closed because this is the last active stitch. You don't want your scarf to unravel. Take your tail, send it through that loop, and then you're going to just kind of tighten it down, okay? And then everything is nice and secure. And you'll just have 2 tails left if you did 1 ball of yarn like I did. If you made this a kind of a scrap yarn project, you may have some more ends. But I like to trim my ends down a little bit and just make them a little bit more manageable for weaving in. And then you can just thread your needle. And then we're just going to go in here and weave in our ends. Now, because this has a gradient to it, or if you're using a yarn that has more than 1 color, just make sure you stay in that same color area with your tail, just so it blends in really nicely. You don't want to see a different color kind of traveling through your project. So we're going to go in one direction with our tail, straighten things out if you need to. And then I like to come back in the other direction, especially for things that you wear like this, because they will see a lot of movement. And as things move, the tail could kind of pop out. So we're going to come back in the other direction and just give it a little bit extra security there. And then snip that off and repeat for your other tail. Okay, our gorgeous scarf is complete. It looks stunning and I love the way it turned out. I hope you enjoyed this project as much as me, and that is how you knit the first Frost knit scarf. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Fiberflux knitting video updates. Bye everyone, and happy knitting!